Hi friends, I think chocolate and pear lovers should find much joy in today's recipe, which is a deliciously moist and mellow chocolate cake with whole sweet juicy California Bartlett pears and glazed with a beautiful chocolate ganache. And due to popular demand, this cake is made in a pressure cooker, which makes it an ideal cake for the summer month, as you don't have to turn the oven on. If you don't have a pressure cooker though, this cake can be steamed in a regular pot. I will also include some baking instructions. Thank you to California Pears for sponsoring this video today. This allows us to keep making delicious recipe videos to share with you. California Bartlett pears are the ideal variety of pear for this cake. If I'm eating Bartlett pears raw as a healthy snack, I love them semi-ripe, but for this recipe we need them fully ripe. They are golden yellow when at their peak ripeness, and among the sweetest and juiciest of all pears, which is why I love them so much for dessert recipes. In Canada, they are available for several weeks in July and August. Pears contain a lot of antioxidants and are a good source of fiber, vitamin C, potassium, and folic acid. Bartlett pears have such a tender skin that it is not even necessary to remove it for baking. However, in this recipe, I do find that peeling the pears results in a much nicer texture inside the cake. Also, remove the bottom part of the pears. Now let's make the cake. As usual, you'll find the printable recipe along with some additional tips on our website. The link is in the description below. In a measuring jug, place the non-dairy milk and the vinegar. Leave this mixture to stand for a few minutes. In the meantime, prepare the cake pan. I'm using an 18 cm or 7-inch springform pan to fit in the pressure cooker. We will need a sort of lid to cover the pan in the pressure cooker or steamer, so that the steam does not drip back on the cake and make it soggy. You can use aluminum foil and crumple it around the pan if you wish, but I'm making the lid with parchment paper. To do this, trace around the pan on parchment paper. Then fold the paper in half and again in half 2 to 3 times with the circle matching. By the way, if you're baking this cake, you don't need the lid, so you may skip ahead. Check the timestamps in the description. Trim the folded paper 6 to 8 centimeters outside the traced circle so that you have a larger circle. Now snip into the circle from the edge towards the center and stopping at the inner circle at regular intervals all around. Fold the snipped pieces of paper along the inner circle, which is the size of the pan. Staple each of the folded pieces together to make a straight edge around the circle. And the lid is done. We will need 2 pieces of string, each about 4 times the width of the pan. This will be tied around the pan and serve as a handle, which will make it easy to lower the pan in the pressure cooker and then later remove it. Line the bottom and side of the pan with parchment paper. For the side, I've stapled the paper where the edges meet, but just at the top. I suggest making the height slightly taller than the pan in case the cake rises more. If your mold is quite tall, then you may leave the side unlined. Our pan is ready, so let's continue with the recipe. In a large mixing bowl, mix all the dry ingredients together. I'm using whole spelt flour. You may also use whole wheat flour or half whole and half all-purpose or plain flour. Add the baking powder, baking soda, cocoa powder, a pinch of salt, cornstarch, and cinnamon. Whisk and mix well. Set this mixture aside for the moment. Back to the measuring jug, where the milk and vinegar had the time to turn into buttermilk by now. Add the rest of the wet ingredients. Make sure the sugar is well dissolved before adding the other ingredients, the vanilla extract and melted coconut oil. You may also use sunflower or olive oil. Stir and mix well. Make a well in the center of the dry ingredients and pour the wet ingredients. Mix to incorporate all the ingredients into a smooth batter without any lumps. Do not whisk or overmix this mixture though, or it will result in a somewhat dense cake texture. Pour the batter into the cake pan. You can see that I've placed both pieces of string under the pan, with the midpoint of the strings matching the center of the pan. Spread the batter around evenly. Insert the pears into the batter until they are almost touching the bottom, but leave a little bit of batter underneath them. Cover the pan with the parchment paper lid that we made before and tie the strings around the pan to make a handle. You can separate the strings to get a bit more balance. In the pressure cooker, place 2 cups of water as well as a steamer rack. For stovetop pressure cookers, add 1 extra cup of water. Gently lower the cake tin into the rack and leave the string in there. Close the pressure cooker. Turn the valve to the closed position. Then set the settings on manual for 38 minutes on maximum pressure. Press the start button and let the pressure cooker do its magic. For stovetop pressure cookers, steam for 38 minutes as from the first whistle. You can also steam this cake in a regular pot for about 45 to 50 minutes. In this case, keep adding water in the pot as needed. If you want to bake this cake, bake in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for 40 to 45 minutes. You don't need to cover the cake if you're baking it. After the time is up, let the pressure and steam go down naturally. That is, do not quick release it. Once it is safe to open the pressure cooker, remove the cake tin and take off the parchment paper lid. Test for doneness by inserting a skewer in the middle of the cake away from the pears. It should come out clean with just a few crumbs but no batter. Allow the cake to cool completely before demolding. You can serve this cake as it is now, but I'm going to add some frosting, a delightful chocolate ganache. For the ganache, bring some water to a boil in a saucepan. Break the chocolate into a bowl. I'm using dark chocolate, but any type will do. Place the bowl on the saucepan. When the chocolate starts to melt, stir a few times until all is melted and smooth. Turn off the heat or remove the bowl from the saucepan and add the milk a little at a time while continuously stirring. You should get a smooth, thick chocolate sauce with a dripping consistency, but not too runny. Drizzle or spread the chocolate ganache on the cake using a spoon or spatula. You can smooth it out around the edge if you wish, but I like the irregular drippings. To serve, make sure to cut half a pear with each slice of cake. I hope you'll try this recipe and tell us how you liked it. If you love poached pears and chocolate cake, you'll most certainly enjoy it. It's moist and tender with juicy sweet California pears. Don't forget to grab some of these Bartletts on your next grocery trip. They are only going to be in the stores for a few more weeks until the end of August. This cake will keep in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 days, and it is even tastier the next day. If you've enjoyed this recipe, give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment. Don't forget to take some pictures if you try this recipe and tag us on Instagram. Check our blog for the printable recipe and a few additional tips. Please subscribe to the channel for more recipes and make sure to enable your notifications. It's the little bell icon so you don't miss any of our videos. We share a few more recipes on our blog, so make sure to subscribe to our newsletter too. We'll email you every time we have a new recipe. We have a lot more deliciousness coming soon, so stay tuned. Love you all and see you very soon in our next video.